Ladies and gentlemen, theys and gamers, welcome to episode 2 of Creme de la Creator, the podcast that celebrates remarkable content creators and their communities. My name is Grant Alexander. Joining me as always is my co-host, Mr. Jake Lane. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Apart from being in lockdown completely, it's all right. You know, I've learnt to eat, sleep, work, and spend any free time that I have in the same 4 rooms. I don't know about you. How are you coping?
Yeah, of course, because you had Yodel throwing things in your house the other day, didn't you, which was fun.
That's very true. We had a delivery man actually open our front door and throw in a parcel without even knocking. We're self-isolating because some of our family has tested positive for COVID, but those are the times we live in, I guess.
Challenging times, yeah, but as long as you keep them well and looking after those around you, that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So, since New Year's Eve doesn't seem to have suddenly made all the world's woes disappear, there's also a bunch of links available in the description for anyone who needs help looking after their mental health right now. Please don't suffer in silence. Look after yourself and your loved ones. Leads me to my honourable mention this week. I follow a guy on Twitter and Instagram called Matt Haig. He is an author and a big mental health activist. Also somebody that has openly struggled with his own mental health. Matt's discourse on Twitter around mental health is absolutely fantastic and a much needed tonic during the pandemic. He basically spends a lot of time promoting open conversation about people's mental well-being. And one of the questions he posted just the other day was, what's the best advice you've been given on mental health? And it was really thought-provoking. It's really good and it's really thought-provoking and it's really interesting to see people share their experiences. And I think in these trying times, it's important to understand that however we might be feeling, we're not alone.
Yeah, well said, absolutely. On a slightly lighter note, obviously we're in episode 2. Episode 1 was released last week to really great reception, so thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. But my honourable mention is actually a chap called Jarek Centeno. He's an audio engineer from LA, and he's worked with a number of bands, including one of my favourites, which is Ninja Sex Party. And he's also the producer of the podcast Late and Night with Brian Wecht, which is one of my favourite podcasts and a big inspiration for this show. So we've been talking over Instagram, Jarek and I, over the pre-production for this podcast. He's been super helpful with getting us off the ground. And he's also, after episode 1, has provided a huge amount of feedback for us to take on board. So huge shout out.
Just to echo what you said, Grant, that's real nice of him. Really appreciate that. Should we jump into our creators?
I think we should.
My creator this week is a chap called Dr. Benjamin Janaway. He also goes by the name in brackets on Twitter, Ward Viking. Hence, the long hair and beard. He does look like a Viking. He's a psychiatrist in the NHS. I was reading one of his blogs the other day. He's basically blogged his story from starting out at university, his own battles with mental health and things like that. And he turns out he wanted to be a neurosurgeon originally and grew an interest in psychology instead. And found cognition and personality much more interesting than anatomy. So I think that's a really interesting story.
Yeah, absolutely.
The things he's putting out on Twitter, absolutely fantastic. So from informative tweets and myth busting, obviously, as such as the way of the world is, internet is a fantastic place. You can find things that you don't necessarily want to find, but you can also find things that you really do want to find. And one of the big things, as people definitely have heard, different myths and different conspiracies and things. He's fantastic at debunking them in a really humorous way. So I've been following him for quite a while, pretty much throughout the entire pandemic, and it's been really, really good. On top of that, he uses Medium to blog his journey as a doctor and also talk about his own mental health. As a doctor who had depression, he speaks about how he sort of didn't help himself as much as he could have initially, particularly being a guy. There is a bit of unfair stigma with men's mental health.
Yeah, really, really important subject.
Oh, hugely, especially in the medical profession too. So it's really fantastic that he's managed to kind of document these things, and it kind of helps people too. On Twitter, his general social commentary is absolutely brilliant, from his commentary on the pandemic to the political landscape and just general Twitter shithousery that we all love. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. Every day I'll log in and I can guarantee there'll be 4 or 5 things he'll put on that's just a little bit of light-hearted humour, as well as a few things that are both important and informative. So
yeah, I'm scrolling through his Twitter feed now, now. He talks about some fantastic stuff, and he really does look like a Viking.
Yeah, I say creator, it's a little bit niche. When you gave me social media influencer,
yeah, it was a bit left field.
It was, yeah. What kind of constitutes a social media influence? Whether I thought, do we go with someone that is quite often pushing products and selling things, or do I look for someone that's had a bit more of a nuanced kind of approach with the influence they have? And that was the word that kind of did it for me. It's like, well, influence. This guy is influencing thousands of people every day. Whether it's a little bit of a humorous tidbit that makes people smile, whether it's something that's informative, or sharing his own personal experience to help other people through something that they might be struggling with. Whatever that is, I think that's a big influence. So my social media influencer, give him a follow on Twitter, Dr. Benjamin Janaway, the Ward Viking.
No, that's a really good shout and a really good distinction. The whole social influencer thing was a little bit left field, but I think, Twitter is its own potentially toxic landscape, and to find a little beacon of hope in an account like that and the work that he does, I think it's really important to know that stuff is still out there.
Yeah, it's good to know that there's stuff out. And even as I say, the general social commentary is fantastic, whether it's doctor related, COVID related, or even political related. More importantly as well, one of the other things I really have a lot of respect for is that whenever he does debunk something or post something, the guy's a doctor, he's an academic, he's an educated man, he always references sources. He's got source material, he's got research, he's got these things to back it up. So
if only everyone on Twitter was so diligent with their sources.
yeah, one day
the world would be a much, much better place. No, I think that's a fantastic find. I've just given him a follow, and quite a few people that I follow that I respect their opinions, people like Akala and yourself, he's got a lot of really influential followers. So good find. Go and check the guy out.
I don't think I'm ever going to be put into the same bracket as Akala again. Gosh. Again, it's always nice when you find something like that you've got that common interest in terms of, we're kind of singing from the same hymn sheet here, but this guy is also pretty funny too, so I like that.
No, great find. Would you like me to go on to my creator?
Yeah, I'd like that very much. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So it's a little bit of a tonal shift, a bit of a sad story today, but one that is definitely worth sharing because the creator is just incredibly inspirational. The story was inspirational, and it's a channel and a cause that is worth talking about. So I had the task of finding a YouTuber, and I've gone with a chap called Frederick Dunstrad, also known to his followers and friends as Hayven Games. Now, Hayven was a YouTuber from Sweden whose channel is now about 74,000 subscribers, and he focused on the evolution, secrets, and game design of World of Warcraft, which is a game very close to my heart. I've been playing since I was a kid, which is how I came across him. He'd talk about everything from quest lines, game-breaking exploration, peeks behind the curtain within various builds of the game, stuff like that. Really in-depth stuff if you're into knowing how games are made. He first posted to the channel on January 24th, 2014, exploring some hidden secrets in vanilla, which is original World of Warcraft, which at that point was almost 10 years old, which makes me feel really old. So his channel has hosted dozens of video series on hidden secrets, alpha builds, early development, and like I said, it was a real treat for anyone who loved WoW or game design in general. In 2015, he did an end-of-year wrap-up video in which he took some time to speak to his community about the fact that he was receiving treatment for a small tumour in his chest.
Gosh.
Follow-up treatments showed 10 additional tumours on his lungs.
Crazy.
Yeah, it turned out to be a rare 1 in 1 million form of cancer called, and I'm going to butcher the name, so I do apologise, epithelioid sarcoma, which is, like I say, a rare, slow-growing type of soft tissue cancer that affects young adults. It's resistant to almost all forms of traditional cancer therapy.
Oh, wow.
Typically comes with a maximum 5 to 10 year survival rate. Nevertheless, Frederick was given a good prognosis at the time and began treatment immediately. During the extensive treatments, he continued to make videos regularly for his loyal and growing fan base, keeping his community up to date with progress when time in hospital affected his upload schedule, which was frequent, you can imagine. So on March 7th, 2017, he posted his last World of Warcraft video. That was the story of the Horde Paladin questline. Now, Hayven was a paladin himself, so a very important video for him to be posting. But on March 18th of 2017, he passed away at just 26 years old.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
So yeah, the final video on his channel was posted on April 24th, 2017, announcing that he'd passed away, and also announcing that all future revenue generated from his channel and his Patreon would be donated to cancer research. At the time, I was very much into playing World of Warcraft. I was following a huge number of YouTube channels and Twitch streamers that were playing WoW. And many of them came together to mourn Hayven's passing. They were all a very tight-knit community of creators. And they came together, did charity live streams, raising more money for cancer charities worldwide. The pinned tweet on my personal Twitter is, and has been for 4 years, a screenshot of that charity live stream that I took part in for Cancer Research UK. And that was hosted by a friend of mine. And this is where my second honourable mention comes in, because I want to shout out Az from Heel vs. Babyface. He was a fierce friend of Frederick's. And when he passed away, Az posted a memorial video to Frederick, which was unbelievably heartbreaking to watch. The World of Warcraft community that knew his channel also hosted in-game memorial services, a place in-game called Uther's Tomb, which is, lore-wise, it's one of the most important spots on the map for a paladin. I was lucky enough to attend one of these in-game memorials with, it must have been at least 200 other paladins on my server, and I know this happened across at least 20 different European servers. That you can go and find videos of it on YouTube. Everyone took a good half an hour to an hour to just sit in game and chat about their favorite videos that he posted and pay their respect. So for me, this channel is really important, A, because the channel still exists and is raising a lot of money, which is fantastic. But it also, it's a testament to the legacy that a creator can leave for its community, and also the type of thing that happens in the gaming community more often than not and isn't talked about is the fundraising that goes on. And I'm going to be covering this a lot on this podcast. Instances where, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars are raised by the gaming community on YouTube and on Twitch. And I think it's something that never gets shouted about enough. And,
I completely agree with you.
Games get written off as a waste of time, but actually there are some real gems there.
Yeah.
And like I say, Hayven was definitely one of them. If you're even remotely interested in game design or how games evolve, or World of Warcraft in particular, I definitely recommend checking out his channel. Like I said, all the advertising revenue, all of the Patreon money, all goes to cancer research now.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance, go and check out all the memorial videos that were done. Channels like Heel vs. Babyface and Bellular all did fantastic memorial videos, and it was posted to a lot of different gaming forums and news outlets as well, because it was a life cut short. But what he managed to achieve and the legacy he's left is remarkable.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that this week. That's phenomenal.
I was a bit worried about talking about it because at the time it was obviously really upsetting to the whole community. But this is what we started this podcast for, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Just I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal that someone can generate that kind of community and continue that legacy. It's an absolutely tragic story, but
absolutely.
If the community and the legacy that he has left has put people in a position in the future that they can benefit from it, from the money being raised to save lives, then that's an absolutely phenomenal story.
Exactly. Even today, there are petitions and campaigns to have Hayven memorialized fully in the game. He was famous for wearing a certain armor set for paladins, so he's very easily recognizable. If you go to his YouTube channel, any WoW player would recognize the tier set. There's a lot of call for some kind of memorial in that image to be placed in-game permanently for him, which is something they've done before, so there's no reason they shouldn't do that. So if you're listening to this, Blizz developers, please put Hayven in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's blown me away, mate, if I'm honest.
Thankfully, I don't have too many more of those where that came from.
Yeah, that's absolutely blown me away, mate, that story. That is, you can hear it in your voice, mate, the impact that had. Yeah. So again, I'll say thanks for bringing that one to the table, because again, as you say, it's why we started this podcast. And here's where we, as you said before, we've got that cultural crossroads where the gaming community is something that obviously you're a lot more heavily involved in than I am. But again, it just kind of shows how that can bring people together. And yeah, it's a tragedy, but that's amazing, mate. That's an amazing story.
Right, should we go on to talk about some good news?
Perhaps subconsciously we've kind of drifted towards that because of the nature of having gone into a second lockdown and the way things. So perhaps subconsciously on some level we've been drawn towards something that's a little bit more
humbling.
Humbling, reflective.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
But as you say, there is some good news. There is some good news.
Yeah.
We've got a good news. I think we're going to try and do this every week, aren't we? Bring a good news story to the table.
And I've got one, actually. So my fiancée Amelia shared this with me actually this morning. And it's that the BBC are rolling out educational support for children in lockdown that are unable to attend school. So the UK has now gone into full lockdown for at least 6 weeks. Check back in and stay tuned to see how that goes. And starting Monday, the 11th of January, 2021, each weekday on CBBC, which is the children's BBC channel, there will be a 3-hour block of primary school programming from 9 a.m. And also BBC Two will be doing the same for secondary school students who are doing their GCSEs this year, with at least 2 hours of content every weekday. They did it over the first lockdown online, but they're bringing it to the forefront and rescheduling all of their programming to support children who are stuck at home and parents who can't necessarily take all the time off they need to do homeschooling.
Yeah.
But it is also worth mentioning that all of that content that they do put back out will then, by proxy, end up on demand on BBC iPlayer. So, if that's a resource that you need to use, please do, because an education is vital, but not at the risk of your health. So this is a great alternative resource.
Absolutely. That is awesome from the BBC to do that. As you said, some people don't always have access to the internet. I didn't as a kid. I didn't have access to the internet. We couldn't afford to. I don't mind admitting that. But education is so important. And having worked in education, and will continue into, it's a life thing. I think education is important for life because without your education and the ability to critically think, to enable yourself to pursue something that you're interested in. I mean, we wouldn't be here now with this podcast for one thing.
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, on the point of people not having the internet access, another good news story alongside that is that there's a scheme available temporarily increases the data allowances for mobile phone users on particular networks. So that's so that the children and young people that can't necessarily access the education through the internet because they can't afford to, they would then be able to access this. Obviously, we can't do face-to-face learning at the minute. So at the time of recording, the UK networks that are enabling this access are 3, Smarty, Virgin Mobile, EE, Tesco Mobile, and Sky Mobile.
What we'll do is we'll put a link to the government guidelines on how to access that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to help people with this and to make sure that people can access that. You can use it. This data recorder is really important. This is additional data, not just for your education, but if you haven't got any data, how are you going to download your favorite podcasts? People need that. So
absolutely, and staying in touch with people. We're all stuck indoors now. Without your internet connection, you're properly isolated. Well, I think this has been certainly a heavier episode than I was expecting us to make. It's probably a reflection of the situation that we're all in and continue to be in. I've really enjoyed this. I'm really looking forward to next week. Yeah,
me too. I think it's important to... We can't hide away from the issues. It's real world. These are real world issues, which is the reason I chose my guys, because he's been there throughout the whole time. Dr. Janaway has been putting on Twitter, posting these different things, and just basically...
It's whatever helps you get through.
Yeah, definitely. And in these times, it's important to engage with something. My mum used to always say to me, if you've got a smile, pass it on to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And your mum is a wise lady.
I'm going to agree with you there, just in case she's listening, and she'd appear out of nowhere and give me a clip round the ear for being cheeky. Have we got our dice of destiny to decide what our meaning?
I actually have been completely unprepared, so I'm just going to go and grab it very quickly.
Yeah, no worries. This is Dr. Fraser Crane. I'm listening.
Have you just been talking the entire time I've been gone?
Ah, you're back. No, I thought about it, and then decided I best not give too much material on there because it might accidentally find its way out. Oops, bloopers.
So, Jake, I have in my hands the dice of destiny that's going to decide what type of creator we both talk about next week. Just to run through the options, we have podcast, musician, an animator, a video creator, a writer or blogger, or a wild card of your choice.
Nice.
Do you accept these terms?
I do accept these terms. So we've changed...
Yeah, we've mixed things up a little bit. We'll probably keep these 6 options fresh. Obviously, there are more than 6 types of creator, but I'm now going to roll the dice, and it's going to decide what you bring to the table next week. And it's a 3, which I believe you got last time. And the new option for 3 is animation.
Oh, okay.
So if you would like to bring an animator to the table,
Yep.
please do. And for myself, see, now I've also rolled a 3.
Oh.
Now, we have a decision to make. Do we both talk about animators, or do I re-roll the dice?
It's entirely down to you.
I'm going to stick with it because I actually have a few ideas of what I could bring to the table.
Awesome.
And it shall be a lighter episode.
It will. Animation special.
Exactly. Animation special. Our first special. Next, we'll be having guests. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this week's episode. We will see you next week.
See you next week.
Creme de la Creator is produced by Grant Alexander and Jake Lane. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at CDLC Podcast, or email us at cdlcpodcast@gmail.com with your suggestions for creators you think we should feature in future episodes.
Stay safe and look after yourselves during lockdown. If you need to talk to someone, please reach out using one of the links provided in the episode description. See you next week.